She was last seen on a February morning. Nearly 3 months later, her family is still waiting for answers that have not come. Nancy Guthrie, the 79-year-old mother of television personality Savannah Guthrie, disappeared from the Tucson, Arizona area in early February 2026. As the investigation enters its 85th day, new evidence, new voices, and mounting community pressure are reshaping the conversation around one of the most closely watched missing persons cases in the country this year. The case did not arrive quietly. When word spread that a nationally recognized journalist's mother had gone missing under uncertain circumstances, the story drew immediate national attention. But attention and answers are two different things. Investigators have been methodical. The public has been restless, and the gap between what law enforcement is willing to say and what people want to know has only widened over time. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos has been at the center of that tension. His office has fielded questions from reporters, family supporters, and online communities who believe the investigation has not moved fast enough. In recent days, a new statement emerged from Pima County leadership, adding another layer of official commentary to an investigation that many observers feel has been short on transparency. What is known is this: Nancy Guthrie is described as a woman of strong character. Those who know her family describe her as the kind of person people do not forget. Her disappearance from a community where she was recognized and known has left neighbors, local officials, and residents across the country with a sense of unease that has not diminished with time. On day 85, a chorus of new developments is demanding attention. DNA evidence, gas station surveillance leads, questions about the actions of those closest to her, and statements from law enforcement at the federal level are converging in a way that is difficult to ignore. Each piece points somewhere. Whether they point in the same direction remains the question at the center of this investigation. The FBI has now been involved for some time, and an assistant director has issued a statement that prompted its own wave of response. Former law enforcement officials have stepped forward publicly to offer analysis, and outside voices, including the father of Elizabeth Smart, whose own family knows the weight of a case like this, have weighed in with perspective that has resonated with many following along. Understanding how this case has evolved and where it stands today requires going back to the beginning and moving forward carefully. Because in a case built partly on fragments, the sequence matters. When investigators began piecing together what happened in the hours surrounding Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, one name that emerged in public conversation was Tommaso Cioni. Tommaso Cioni is the husband of Annie Guthrie, who is Savannah Guthrie's sister. He is not, by any official law enforcement statement, a named suspect in this case. That distinction matters, and it has been emphasized repeatedly by those familiar with how missing persons investigations work. But public perception does not always follow legal definitions, and the attention directed at Cioni has been substantial. Reports circulating in recent days have drawn scrutiny to his alleged activity in the hours immediately following Nancy's disappearance. According to available information, his movements during that window have become a point of interest for people following the case, even as investigators have not publicly characterized his status. Former FBI analysts who have spoken about the case in commentary contexts have offered insight into why certain individuals become the focus of public suspicion, even when law enforcement has not publicly identified them as persons of interest. One such analyst offered a pointed observation. The way people behave in the immediate aftermath of a disappearance, including how quickly they appear, how they communicate, what they do before alerting others, creates an impression. That impression is hard to undo once it forms in the public mind, regardless of what the facts ultimately show. What is particularly notable is that this dynamic is not unique to this case. The nature of high-profile missing persons investigations is that family proximity automatically draws scrutiny. It has happened in dozens of cases before this one, but the combination of a recognizable family name, limited official information, and an active online community has amplified that scrutiny significantly in the Nancy Guthrie case. Savannah Guthrie herself has not remained silent. According to available information, she declined an offer extended to her by the program she is closely associated with professionally, a decision that was reported and that generated its own discussion. Whether that decision was driven by personal grief, legal counsel, or a desire to manage the flow of information around her family, observers have drawn different conclusions. The family has issued public statements. Roughly 50 days into the disappearance, they made a new plea, appealing directly to the public for information. Those pleas are consistent with how families in similar situations respond when investigations reach a plateau and momentum risks stalling. They are also consistent with genuine desperation. In this case, it is likely both. Neighbors in the area where Nancy Guthrie was last known to be living have spoken to reporters as the case stretches toward its fourth month. The word used most frequently by those neighbors, according to published reports, is concerned. Some have said uneasy. A community that hoped this would resolve quickly is beginning to confront the possibility that it will not resolve easily at all. What brings law enforcement back to the same locations, the same video footage, the same witnesses, is not incompetence. Experienced investigators will tell you that missing persons cases often hinge on small, overlooked details. A timing discrepancy. A vehicle that appears somewhere it should not. A phrase someone used that did not register in the first interview. The search for Nancy Guthrie has now extended to gas station footage and nearby surveillance cameras that may capture something no one has caught yet. According to available reporting, new leads tied to gas station footage have generated what some describe as cautious optimism in the investigation. The word hope has appeared in coverage. Hope is fragile in cases like this, but it is not nothing. The DNA evidence is the development that has drawn the most sustained analytical attention in recent weeks. Former FBI agents who have followed the Nancy Guthrie case and offered public commentary have pointed to what they describe as telling clues embedded in the DNA evidence recovered during the investigation. The specifics of what DNA was collected, where it was found, and what it indicates about the circumstances of her disappearance have not been fully disclosed by law enforcement. That is deliberate. A former detective who spoke about this case in a published interview was asked directly why key information is being withheld from the public. The explanation offered was precise. When investigators are building toward a potential prosecution, they protect the integrity of their evidence by controlling what becomes public knowledge. If a suspect is identified, that suspect should not be able to read the evidence against them in advance. Withholding is not obstruction of the public. It is protection of the case. That explanation makes sense in a courtroom context. It is considerably harder for families and community members to sit with. The tension between investigative necessity and public accountability is real, and it has defined the atmosphere around this case for months. The DNA finding that has received the most attention involves what investigators believe may indicate that Nancy Guthrie resisted whoever took her. According to available reporting, the evidence suggests she fought back. That detail is significant for several reasons. It speaks to her character. It also provides investigators with a potential biological profile of whoever was with her. If accurate, that is not a small development. DNA recovered from a struggle can be run through databases. It can eliminate individuals who have voluntarily submitted samples. It can identify unknown profiles. And it can take time, sometimes considerable time, to yield a result. Former FBI analysts weighing in on the case have noted that the DNA component, combined with the physical evidence at the scene and the surveillance footage being examined, creates a multi-point evidentiary picture. The challenge is connecting those points in a sequence that holds up legally. The question of who has been examined and cleared, and who has not, is one that the public cannot answer based on available information. What is clear is that investigators have not announced an arrest. No one has been formally charged, and the case, despite 85 days of investigation, remains open and active. The involvement of the FBI adds a dimension that local cases do not always have. Federal resources, forensic laboratories, and the capacity to trace financial and communication records across jurisdictions are tools that expand what an investigation can reach. An FBI assistant director's formal statement on the case generated significant response, though the specific contents of that statement have been discussed in broad strokes in public reporting, rather than in full. What emerges from the federal involvement is a signal. Cases that attract FBI assistant director-level statements are not being treated casually. Whatever the current state of the evidence, the institutional investment in this investigation is significant. The investigators are not starting over. They are building. Outside the investigation itself, a separate conversation has been running parallel, and it has involved voices that carry weight. Ed Smart, the father of Elizabeth Smart, who was abducted from her Salt Lake City home in 2002 and recovered alive, has spoken about the Nancy Guthrie case. His perspective comes from a place few people inhabit. He knows what it means to wait. He knows how cases like this feel from the inside of a family. And he knows what it looks like when theories multiply faster than facts. According to available reporting, Ed Smart addressed the Tommaso Cioni-related theories circulating online and in media commentary. His position, as reported, was measured. He expressed what appeared to be skepticism about the emphasis being placed on individuals who have not been formally identified as suspects by law enforcement. His words carried the authority of experience. What Ed Smart's involvement represents is a broader phenomenon in high-profile missing persons cases. People who have lived through similar experiences become important voices. Their credibility is rooted not in law enforcement credentials, but in something harder to replicate: direct, personal understanding of what it costs to have someone you love vanish. There is also a warning embedded in that kind of commentary. Cases like Elizabeth Smart's demonstrate that public certainty about who is responsible can be wrong. People were certain about suspects in that case who turned out to have had nothing to do with it. Certainty formed in the absence of facts is not evidence. Meanwhile, the question of whether the investigation has access to enough resources has been raised explicitly. According to available reporting, Sheriff Chris Nanos has been urged to accept assistance from a volunteer rescue organization. The offer, made publicly, was framed as a practical extension of search capacity in a geographically challenging region. Whether that offer has been accepted, declined, or remains under consideration is not clear from available information. The relationship between official law enforcement and volunteer search organizations in missing persons cases is complicated. Volunteers bring numbers, local knowledge, and energy. They also require coordination and can, when not properly integrated, create complications for evidence integrity. A sheriff's decision about whether to accept outside help is not simply logistical. It is strategic. Pima County officials have also issued new public statements in recent days, adding another layer of official response to the case. A Pima County supervisor made comments that were reported as a new development, though the contents, as described in headlines, suggest continued concern about the direction and pace of the investigation. A new complaint has also emerged, according to reporting, the specifics of which have not been fully detailed in available sources. What that complaint involves, who filed it, and what it alleges remain unclear. But its emergence at this point in the case adds to the sense that the investigation is facing scrutiny from multiple directions simultaneously. That is both a sign of how much public interest this case has generated and a reminder that sustained attention brings sustained pressure. For the investigators working this case, pressure is a variable they have to manage while continuing to do the work. 85 days is a long time in any investigation. It is an even longer time for a family waiting. The Nancy Guthrie case has produced questions at every stage. Some of them have received partial answers, many have not. And the ones that remain open are the ones that matter most. Where is Nancy Guthrie? That question is the center of everything. Every development, every press statement, every piece of evidence, every expert commentary circles back to it. Investigators have not answered it. The public has not answered it. The family, by all appearances, does not yet know. What has become clear over 85 days is that this is not a case being treated as routine. The breadth of involvement, from local law enforcement to federal resources, from community volunteers to nationally recognized commentators, signals something. Cases that are proceeding toward a clear resolution do not tend to generate this level of sustained, unresolved public pressure. The DNA evidence, if it holds what analysts believe it holds, will matter. The gas station footage, if it captures what investigators hope it captures, will matter. The reconstruction of movements in the hours around the disappearance, including the actions of everyone in proximity to Nancy Guthrie that day, will matter. What former law enforcement professionals who have spoken about this case have consistently said is that missing persons investigations with strong physical evidence do eventually reach conclusions. The evidence does not disappear. It accumulates. And at some point, the accumulation becomes something that cannot be ignored. The Elizabeth Smart case is instructive, not because it ended the way everyone hoped, which it did, but because of how long it took and how certain people were, at various points, about conclusions that turned out to be wrong. Patience and precision are not exciting, but they are what resolve cases. Nancy Guthrie's neighbors say they are uneasy. Her family has made repeated public pleas. Former investigators are offering analysis. Federal officials are making statements. A community that has followed this case from the beginning is now entering its 4th month of waiting. Whether the next significant development comes from the laboratory, from a surveillance camera at a gas station on a highway, from a conversation that has not yet happened with someone who knows something, or from a combination of all of it, the investigation is not finished. It is not finished because no one has been held accountable. It is not finished because Nancy Guthrie has not been found. And until those two things change, day 85 becomes day 86, and the work continues. If you've been following this case and want to stay informed as it develops, taking a moment to subscribe ensures you do not miss the next update. This case is moving, and the next development could arrive at any time. As of today, no arrest has been made. No one has been charged. The search is ongoing. And the answers that Nancy Guthrie's family needs most have not yet arrived.